Staying in the Middle East, and pressure continues to mount on Benjamin Netanyahu's Israeli government. On Thursday, around 1,000 Israeli Air Force staff, many of them reservists, published an open letter calling for an end to the war in Gaza and a return of the hostages. The IDF responded, though, saying all those involved in the publication would be fired from the Air Force. Lauren Berstecker has the story. Apologies. We do go straight to unpack this news with Yossi Mekelberg. He joins us from London, where he's a senior consulting fellow at MENA Chatham House. Yossi, this is quite an astonishing response from the IDF, saying that they will fire these reservists. What kind of legal or procedural grounds do they actually have for dismissing these active reservists after this outspoken dissent?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. They can dismiss them. They can't actually fire them, because this is a combination. Out of this 950, some of them are already long retired. Some of them are volunteering. They don't take part of the reserve. So anyway, they volunteer. Others are reservists. And in this case, they can decide not to call them. So from a legal point of view, they can't do it. But it shows the rift, the division that Netanyahu is sowing in the Israeli society. And by the way, it's not only from soldiers from the Air Force. We are talking also today 250 from the intelligence, from all important 8,200 units, and from the medical corps. So there is gathering some momentum. Now, despite what Netanyahu's sycophants are saying, these who signed it didn't say that they refused to serve. That's the way that Netanyahu and the coalition try to portray them. What they say is that they demand the war to stop and to advance the negotiation over the release of the hostages. But again, as Netanyahu, he rules by division, he rules by incitement against certain segments of the Israeli society. That's what keeps him in power.
But what does this fundamentally say about this rift? Because now there are questions about how this could also affect Israel's operational capabilities.
I think there is no immediate danger of it, but if it gathers momentum and more people, we know that 70% of the Israeli society doesn't trust Netanyahu. They say time and again since the beginning of the war. 70% of the Israeli society says that they want the hostages back as their top priority, not the war in Gaza, not the so-called total victory that Netanyahu is selling for 18 months now. They want to see the hostages back home. And with that, understanding that we'll have to end the war. And Netanyahu, because he's basically hijacked by the far right, he needs to stay in power because of his corruption trial that is taking place. He wants to stay forever as prime minister in power. And the far right tells him, if you don't continue the war in Gaza, we are leaving. They returned, at least one party returned to the coalition only after the resumption of the war in 18th of March. But on the other hand, if more and more people are crucial to the military force and the military power of Israel decided or signed this letter, maybe even go further, then there is a real issue in Israel society. This in the backdrop of Netanyahu allows legislation to go through that exempt many thousands of ultra-Orthodox not to serve.
Yossi Mekelberg, thank you so much for a dynamic response and just helping educate us on the latest situation there following that open letter. Well, that's all the news for now. Up next is Eye on Africa with Clarisse Fortuné. Please stay tuned.